This is the Automotive Repair Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Speak Up, Effective Communication, the show on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network focused on your communication and leadership skills. I'm your host, Craig O'Neill, and thank you so much for joining me in our episode today as we wrap up our 10-part series on public speaking tips inspired from my Toastmasters experience, and it's applied in my daily work and travels. Tip number 10 is gain experience. Now, on the surface, that sounds really pretty obvious. If you want to get better at something, go do the thing. What I want you to hear in this episode is really more along the lines of how do you get plugged in to do the thing? What are the actual pathways, especially in our industry, the automotive repair industry, although I think it's analogous to pretty much every industry that involves any kind of communication. What does it actually look like to get plugged in? So when I say gain experience, I want to say this. Experience for me, it means really two specific things. You'll need experience in both content creation and in delivery. We can't go too deep into both today, so I'll say this. For most experienced speakers, you'll begin spending the vast majority of your time on ways to create content more efficiently, but the delivery piece will be much easier over time. So we'll touch a little on content, but in this particular series of tips, I'm focusing a little bit more on the delivery side of things. We've talked a little about content as we went along too. And our word of the day for today is nascent. And we'll define that word for you after we hear a word from our sponsors who make this show possible. Hey friends, as you know, I'm a proud member of the AutoFlow team, and let me tell you, we've changed how business is done for auto shops everywhere. We support your client experience before, during, and after the work is done. Imagine this: timely updates sent directly to your clients, branded digital vehicle inspections, and seamless communication from start to finish. That's why shops love AutoFlow. And hey, with those 5-star reviews rolling in, you'll wonder how you ever managed without us. Take an important next step and take your auto shop to the next level. Visit www.autoflow.com. Get on board with an AutoFlow trial. Want to see your auto repair shop thrive? Are you looking to drive more customers to your auto repair shop? Let ShopDog Marketing be your guide. Our customer-first approach, combined with AI-driven creative content, ensures top rankings. Dominate mobile first and voice search with our specialized expertise. Reach out to ShopDog Marketing today and start growing your business. Don't miss out on this chance to boost your business. Visit shopdogmarketing.com. Inbound has exclusively served independent auto repair shops with expert communication solutions for years. Our robust VoIP platform ensures you stay connected while our industry-leading AI analytics take your business to the next level. We provide the tools you need to understand your customers and optimize every interaction. Choose Inbound for proven expertise and unmatched innovation. Visit callinbound.com and discover the difference we can make. What if you knew exactly what to say to the price shopper, the upset customer, the person who says they cannot afford it? Every day, service advisors lose customers not because of bad service, but because of the wrong words at the wrong moment. Words That Work is a free phone scripts playbook built for auto service professionals. Every script includes the reasoning behind it, so you understand not just what to say, but why it works. Grab your free copy at serviceadvisortraining.com. Okay, we are back, and we're so thankful to welcome Jerry Frank from Service Advisor Training as a new sponsor, joining our much beloved longtime supporters, David Boyd from Call Inbound, Dan Vance from ShopDog Marketing, Chris Cloutier from AutoFlow, who have supported our mission while I was a nascent podcast host. It's great to have such a strong network of support early on. It's been an amazing experience so far, and as we close in on that milestone, episode 100, I really appreciate having this family of support around us. But nascent is an adjective. That means just beginning to exist or develop, still in early formation, not yet fully formed. Every speaker you admire was once nascent. Every trainer you look up to had a nascent season. This episode is for people who are in theirs right now and love doing something new. And it's key to what we encourage in the realm of communication on this show. Get out there, try new things, stretch outside of that comfort zone. Now, when I think about gaining experience as a communicator, I want to frame it around two distinct spaces. There's two experiences, if you will. The experience in the audience, that's being in the audience, and then there's the experience speaking to an audience, generally thought of as being on a stage, although very few stages in most cases for me. It's just a flat room and you're just in front of it. So those are the two spaces. But there is a third, less noticed space, in that liminal middle space that is this. That's being beside the speaker who either pulls you in or you're there to support. And that is one of the more powerful places here. But we'll cover each of these really two areas, but three spaces, if you will. Being in the audience first, I think most of us all know about this already. If you've been in the automotive repair industry, you've been to training. And this is where, if I boast on anything in my experience, it would be in the fact that I have been attending training events since I was a child, middle school age and younger, really. And of the many things our family business got right, it was in attending training, networking, joining associations, communicating with local shop owners and friends. So in my early years, I remember specifically ASA meetings. Those were the main go-tos that we would have on a regular basis. And that was back when ASA Michigan was a thing. Friends to this day, like Ray Fisher, who led ASA Michigan very successfully for so many years, was one of a number of figures. And there are so many other names that are familiar to me now. But when I was a kid at these events, I remember everyone seemed old when I was a child, but a huge part of why I know the true heart of this industry is precisely because I was a young man eagerly welcomed. This was a great group of people that we would meet with, very affirming. They love seeing young people coming into the trade as it was. It's in an important way. I see it now. This was affirming to them. A thought occurred to me as I drafted this episode. Few things are more powerful than to be in a moment and realize that what we do might inspire another person in that generation behind us. And this, I think, is rarely mentioned. It's a shame that youth never get to know, not in their youth, that in many moments they are affirming in a powerful way the generation ahead of them to do what they do because you are inspired. It only works that way when people want to be there. But those are some powerful things to consider. Even as a kid, I wanted to be there. I wasn't dragged along, neither was my brother. I remember that we felt important when we went there. We would shake the hands of these people. We were taught to shake firmly. These large hands when you're a kid, and this trade has some pretty tough hands out there. My brother and I were taught to sit up front. We were taught that afterwards, after a presentation, when there's that break, you go up there, you shake the speaker's hand, you thank them, ask them a question. People like to be asked questions. It shows that you're listening and there's more that you can learn. I look back on all of those experiences, a really important piece of my journey. And for adult audience members, it's not just for youth and an audience. The same principles 100% apply. You really just have to add another layer of study to it that you're going to do with the adult mind. Your time in the audience is going to sharpen your awareness of what works, what doesn't work. When your mind wanders, what snaps it back to attention. Pay attention to those things. Take notes on that sort of stuff in addition to the actual subject matter that's being delivered. This is experience. That time in the seat is really important. This is you learning to listen before you learn to speak. Now, let's go to that middle area that I mentioned on being like beside the speaker and being pulled in. Who pulls you in is very important. For me, that was my boss, Chris Cloutier. He gave me my very first taste of the in the middle space speaking. He was presenting quite a bit in those early years. It was largely just him doing the presentations. It was a very small team. I was employee number 5 for that matter. So none of the development guys wanted to get in front of an audience. It may surprise you. But the first show he brought me to that he was doing some speaking at, where he invited me to have a part of the presentation, was ASA Colorado. In the Wayback Machine, right? ASA was very active in some of the earlier years in my time in the space that I'm in right now. That was a small event that was at a small trade school there in Colorado. I still have friends to this day I met there, and some who are no longer with us, I'm afraid. Such a wonderful group there. It was a really nice show, but I remember making 2 slides is all Chris gave me on the first presentation I did, and I was invited to make 2 slides. And what a train wreck that was. There's really 2 problems for me with it. One, I had no idea how to do content creation at that time. Instructional design would be the term I would use now. I have some wonderful mentors that help me on this to this day now. Didn't have them quite yet at that point. So making 2 slides, basically, all right, cool. I have a presentation. Cool. I get a chance to talk to people about all the things I know. And I got to put all the things I know on 2 slides. You would think that's what I was doing if you looked at those. I bet they're out there somewhere. I am going to have to find those as I recall this. They were busy. Everyone knows what a busy slide looks like. Way too many things going on, trying to say too much stuff. And hey, look, it's an amateur move, but that's Chris is obviously very aware of this. I remember him proofing some of this stuff and giving some advice on to trim it. And I did. I trimmed it, but it's still really busy. But hey, a lot of that I realize now too is small space to do something and wanting to prove myself. There's a lot of things that were revealed in that initial experience for myself and my own character and what I was bringing up that had to be dealt with. And you'll find that too as you begin to take your first steps in experience. And a good mentor will let you take those steps, even let you make some mistakes and just get that experience in there. And Chris is just an incredible mentor for exactly that kind of a reason, with the skill that he had in years and years and years and years and years and years in Toastmasters already sort of a passion piece for him to do anyway. And you have an eager participant that makes it even more fun. Hopefully, I think he had a lot of fun with it and still has fun with it today. When Chris gave me feedback afterward, there were, of course, plenty of opportunities from that moment to recommend Toastmasters to me. I don't remember if that came before or after this, but the point is he let me borrow a piece of his stage before I had earned one on my own. I would argue that I've never earned one on my own. That's a form of mentorship that is hard to put a dollar value on, and I think it's extraordinarily rare. Unfortunately, that's very rare because I see a lot of people trying to really just plow their own way in all sorts of ways, and sometimes that really shows up when people are showing up unprepared and unvetted and unmentored. And that's hard. Not that they won't learn from that, or that we can't all still appreciate when people are doing that, but I think that the road that I was shown is the road that I would choose to replicate and encourage others to replicate. And if you don't have that mentor in your life, golly, reach out. I promise you reach out to us here on the show, reach out to Carm, reach out to this network, get plugged in. There are plenty of people out there that would love to meet you and hear you. But let's talk about another thing, because that's Chris pulling me into a presentation. But there was another opportunity that we were given just by our proximity in West Michigan. Mentioned him several times on the show. He's going to have to be a guest one of these days. I'm overdue for a lunch with him too. Ryan Koeman from Standard Motor Products. What a wonderful guy. My brother, I credit for the network in this. He was really into the diag stuff, so he was invited to come and do some beta testing and training. He was also contributing some content for case studies and all sorts of things that goes on in these technical training networks. There's a whole world to that. If you're not plugged into it with a few connections, you may be completely unaware. But what Ryan was doing with Standard Motor Products was inviting technicians from some trusted shops, a small group, into a beta testing environment where you're going to be the audience for the presenters as they go through this new course material, and they vetted out the course material that way. And it's so cool because they actually craved the feedback from the audience to make sure it felt like a good course. And some of this stuff for me, I'll give myself like a B- technician if we're going to stick with that ABC tech stuff. Like for me, like editing the workbooks for errors through some of the meteor subject matter was a little bit better, but I gathered so much technical knowledge from those classes too. Just really, really great people. And look, some of the best technical training in the industry by far, really wonderful courses. Anyone who's been to one of their courses understands this. But with just a small group of beta testers in there, like, what are we doing? We're going there late at night. We're paid by pizza and free knowledge, right? And that was really cool. I emerged to this day with just a deep respect for the seriousness with which that team approaches their courses. The feedback process, the vetting, the practice, it's remarkable to have been a part of that at any time in my life. It was instructional in the instruction that I was receiving. That's sort of part and parcel of being in that middle and being in an audience group at the same time. So you can see how like all of this has been a valuable gain of experience there. The point I would make here is that what I want you to notice about this model is it contained the spirit of Toastmasters before I ever even walked into a Toastmasters meeting. It was deliberately constructed, this group. It was maintained by people who had sincere respect for each other and wanted to see each other successful. And it was available to me, it was available to us because we said yes to it. You could cultivate something like that in your own local community. If you're one of those guys that wants to become a technical trainer, right? It does not have to be formal. It does not have to have a name. It just has to be intentional. Standard Motor Products, shoot, with those meetings that Ryan was putting together, it was in the upper balcony of a shop. It was a storage area, it was an ad hoc classroom, and it was great. It was really great. Memorable evenings with good people. And then there's another avenue too. There's just a supporting role component to this. And this is another valuable early role that Chris afforded to me as well. I remember Chris was still doing a lot of presentations even around the time of COVID. Of course, during COVID, everyone remembers we didn't have in-person meetings. It was a lot of online events and so many presentations that were really, even presenters who were very good in person. It feels very flat when you're watching it as a webinar. It can be that way sometimes. And that's why I love having a guest on shows to talk about most topics that we do here too, and look forward to having more guests as we complete this series. But I saw this everywhere, even those like late night comedians when they're making a joke and they don't have the audience laughing with them. It just feels so different when you're used to that live environment. So what Chris invited me to do in those days was for some of his presentations is be on there, not always on camera, but on mic at least, and being ready to add commentary and chit chat, more or less. You almost would see the same sort of thing on a morning radio show. Like, oh yeah, Chris, on that point, this is another thing that's really good. And ha ha ha, yeah, what you said there, that's spot on, dude. Yeah, this is right. And like when you have those little commentary pieces like that, it adds an element where it feels like you're part of a conversation, even like podcasting too. Listen to a solo episode like this and then go listen to one with the dynamic, and you may feel like you're sitting in a room just having the conversation. My hope is that as you're listening here, you even just feel like we're sitting having a conversation together. Don't feel bad if you start responding to me with a verbal. That's all right. But yeah, that we have a lot more to say on that in the future. I don't want to go too much into this, but that's an element of co-teaching as well that's really valuable. And I'm going to do an episode with Chris on that topic in the future. Where I want to go next is really on the grind, the gaining of experience actually being in front of the audience. And let me tell you that gaining experience, what it looked like for me in the early years, especially, those small moments were logistically challenging, but it depended again on my local network. My friend Dan Hosler from AutoWares, he's another wonderful West Michigan man that's nearby. He'd invite me to speak at some of the shop council meetings for AutoWares. Their headquarters is literally like 8 minutes from my house. But these are meetings sometimes in those council meetings, just held sometimes in the back office of a parts warehouse. I've been in shop bays on summer days. I've been in cramped restaurants in small towns. I've been east side of Michigan over to Chicago in the same week that I was in Chicago, going further up the wrong coast of Lake Michigan to Milwaukee, driving myself out there after hours, after a work day, through the evening, back home many times. That's it, right? These long drives to go speak to maybe 5, 7 shop owners. Other times you're lucky if you have a room 20, 45 people at some of the more mid-sized regional events. The drive back, all that stuff, late night paid by pizza once again, comped hotel rooms if overnight was required. That was very grateful. I was very grateful for that. But look, that's a real grind. Remember being happy to be able to listen to audiobooks on the way on some of those longer drives too. But I didn't say no to really anything. If it was within driving distance, especially, I would take the opportunity. And that's exactly the type of thing that I encourage. And my wife deals with this too as an artist. We go to those art fairs around town, the pop-up tents and all the things. She does a wonderful job at those. And that was one of the most important things that she did earlier in her art career, is figuring out these show circuits. She had a couple of people give her some really good advice on this stuff. Like some of those shows take 1, 2, 3 years of just showing up until you're recognized and known at that point. And that's amazing. Even at judged events, everything else, there's an ebb and flow to these sort of things. Initially, she went to pretty much every show she could. Now she has a pretty good cultivated list of the ones that she definitely likes to go to. But it took years for her to become a known figure in that network. And now she's really well established. She's got tremendous experience. And now she's the one guiding others into that thing too. So that act of that grind, that's what gives you the ability to be able to give advice and help to others yourself down the road. The art community is amazing on this. There's so much to say. I definitely need to get her on here on a microphone too, because the art community, it has competition, of course, but it just deeply respects collaboration. And there's almost a mutual mentoring that occurs among the artists. It's really cool to see. And speaking too is an art. And when you're generally practicing it as such and putting true study into becoming a good presenter, there's no show, no meeting too small to gain those experiences. I said yes to everything. It was priceless education. So that really, when you put it into an arc, that beginning at ASA Colorado was just a start of a longer arc. You could argue the arc went all the way to early Sean and Craig going to ASA meetings with dad and grandpa. Over time, for me and Chris specifically, the relationship between me and him of protege mentor became genuine co-teaching. And obviously solo presentations for me, obviously, and is the outcome there, and a podcast and a whole bunch of things. It's just bonkers still when I look at the full arc of all the things, and especially the last decade. But Chris and I will still co-teach together regularly to this day. And there was a recent event, a very poignant moment of proved value to the model that Chris demonstrated with me. And I'll never forget STX 2024. Chris and I had 3 classes on that particular one each day that were there. Each of them was co-taught together. But day 1, early in the morning, I was expecting to go down and meet Chris, go over a couple of the notes for the upcoming class. And he tells me he got a phone call from his wife, and his mother-in-law passed away unexpectedly that morning. Is just terribly sad, tragic. And I remember in the midst of it, though, it took me a moment to realize, oh, we're not going to go over our notes for the class we're going to do here very soon, are we? You have to go home. We have to get you to the airport. I'm on my own for these ones. So, okay. But at that point, the routine had been so well established. It's yeah, you got this. Yeah, yes, sir. Absolutely. 100%. And because of the journey we'd been on together, he had complete confidence in me to handle it. Really, that event for me, that's when it just really punctuated my appreciation for the time and the grind that I had done. That is exactly what a successful protege mentor relationship can produce. In the moments you least expect, that no doubt, the confidence that he had in my ability permitted him to be fully where he absolutely needed to be at that moment. And there was just comfort, I think, in that for me. I felt really, really happy that he didn't have to worry. And that made a lot of that grind really worth it to me. There's a lot more to say about co-teaching too, but that is what the progression from being beside a speaker to being a speaker actually can look like when it's done right. And I do want to go into the co-teaching topic very much, but it wouldn't be a long episode if I did. So there's downsides and upsides to it, and we'll give a full episode to that later on. And I'll need Chris on for that one. But for now, I want you to see it as what it is. It's a pathway. It's a real meaningful pathway into gaining experience. Small moments, turn into big ones. You can count on it. So then there's this. I do want to just a brief note on it. A lot of people make a fuss about not getting paid to speak on every occasion that you go. Your time is very valuable. Yes, no question. It's extraordinarily valuable, but so is experience, right? And I understand that time is valuable. But here's what I need you to consider. You have to invest heavily yourself in order to gain the experience. You have to accept that. You are buying experience before anyone is buying your expertise. That is the cost of the road. That was my road. It might not be yours. Maybe some of you can get big opportunities early on, and that's great. But if you cannot, or if you have not yet, this is what it looks like. Small rooms, long drives, and pizza. That's okay. So how do you start? What do you do if you're in your nascent season right now? A few things. Look, lean on your mentors. Find a friend in your network who's already presenting. Ask if you can borrow a small portion of their time, a slide or two. Cram everything you can right now. A single point in a larger presentation is really good. I'm fairly certain a lot of them would be happy to say yes. Get your feet wet too. See what it feels like to stand in front of people. The springboard is from there. Cultivate your own little practice room if you want. The SMP guys did it in that upper storage area. It was converted to ad hoc classroom. You could do this in probably almost any corner of a shop. Invite people you trust, people that do want to see you successful, that people that you want to see successful as well. Give each other honest feedback. Do it regularly. Paying pizza. Toastmasters, obviously, if you have not looked into your local chapter yet and you've listened to this podcast, do it. What are you waiting for? At least join our online club, Remarkable Results Toastmasters. We'd be happy to see you there as a guest too. And that's a wonderful spot to rub shoulders with some really great people that would probably be exactly the type that are going to uplift you and keep you encouraged and help you take that next step. Even a short version of a speech that you would ever get to do in a Toastmasters thing, that is experience, and those reps really do add up. It is something you have to see to understand. Now, if you're truly a technically minded person who wants to become a technical trainer, I hear this more often than any other circuit, even in the management circuit, a lot of really smart techs. I hear this clearly. Being a subject matter expert does not make you an excellent presenter. Those are different skills. You still need the practice, even if you know the material inside, outside, upside down. You still need the feedback, and there is absolutely no shortcut through it. Not one I have ever seen. So we have talked throughout this entire series now about nerves, about confidence, about knowing your material, knowing your audience, and all of that should be genuinely helpful for those of you who are new to this, because you are going to be stressed out at some of the larger events you find yourself at someday. It is a legitimately big deal sometimes, and you do need to take it seriously. But here's what I want you to hold on to. By the time you get to that big room, you should have enough experience from the small ones that the only thing that feels new is the content you're delivering. Maybe the scale you're at, maybe the stakes. You just will not be new to having an audience. That is what all those small steps build toward. So, hey, we appreciate hearing from you on anything that helps you on your communication journey. Send emails with comments and suggestions to speakup@craigoneil.net. O'Neill is ONEILL.net. Remember, listen up on the app to all the shows on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network, starting with Remarkable Results Radio with Carm Capriato, Diagnosing the Aftermarket A through Z with Matt Fonslow. Matt actually probably needs you to help him with more than a few slides in his next presentation. Business by the Numbers with Hunt Demarest, the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast with Brian and Kim Walker, and the Weekly Blitz with Coach Chris Cotton. Once again, thank you so much to our sponsors. Thank you, our loyal listeners, for joining us. Now get out there, listen up, speak up, be nascent.
You've been listening to Speak Up, Effective Communication with Craig O'Neill on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network. Download our exclusive podcast app at automotiverepairpodcastnetwork.com, because the best conversations in the industry start here. Check the show notes for Craig's YouTube channel and email. Let him know what topics you'd like him to speak up about.